guys, welcome to your 5th XNA game development tutorial. In the last tutorial we went over some more of these integer number types and how to cast them, things like that. And I said that I was going to go over namespace and class, but instead I'm going to actually go from the inside out and talk about functions first. So that's what we're going to be going over in this tutorial. So right now, this right here, it says static void main and like a bunch of other stuff here. This is a function right here. Everything within these parentheses right there, that's part of the function. And what a function does is it basically performs a bunch of actions, and then it can return some kind of value. You might be wondering what I mean by returning a value, but I'm going to show you that right now actually. So what we're going to do, where it says class inside here, between these two parentheses, we're going to put some space and we're going to type void my function, and then put open parentheses, close parentheses, and press enter, and then we're going to put the braces in. So this will tell us where the function starts and where the function ends. And you'll see all your functions go inside where it says class right here. So this is a function right here, and we just made a new function right there. And inside this function we can like do a bunch of stuff. To make it simple, I'm just gonna make it write something to the screen. So we can do write line, and then we can put these quotes right here and say hello world, and close the quote, and then close parentheses, and always remember that semicolon right there after each statement, because all of these are statements. And that's actually a good way to think about it. You have functions and you have statements here. That's what we've learned so far. And what functions do is they contain these statements, and the statements will do something. So right now I have my function, and it has this statement that writes something to the screen. And so whenever this function is called, or whenever it's used, it'll do this. So now what we're going to do, and one other thing is this main function, this is how your program starts. So the computer just knows to use this function right when your program starts. So it's basically the starting point. And from there you can use other functions and such. So now what we're going to do is use the function that we made. And to use our function, all we have to do is type this. Wait, hold on. Let's make this public. Hold on. Alright, yeah. So you have to make it static. So just write static. I'm not going to go over that right now, so I'll just put it there for now. And then you'll need the parentheses, just like there. You don't need any of this stuff, just like with our variables. You don't need the what it returns. That I'm going to go over that in a second. And then remember to put that semicolon there. So you just put my function with the parentheses and semicolon. Alright, so now when we run this, it should print this to the screen. So go over to start without debugging, and there you go, hello world. Alright, so now I'm going to go over what this second part means right here. Don't worry about the static again. So let's change this to an int. So this is the type that the function returns. You still might be wondering what I mean by return, but what we're going to do is type return and then we're going to put 5. And so what we're doing is we're returning some kind of variable that's an int, and we know that 5 is an int. So if you did like 5.0, we're going to get an error because this is not an int. Okay, so let's delete that, get rid of our error. And so now what we can do actually is when we call this actually equals 5. This thing right here, when we call it, it equals 5 because that's what it's returning. So what we can do is actually, let's get rid of all this. Let's say int my int equals, now we're going to give it a value. And remember how I said that this equals 5 because it's returning 5. So we can say equals my function. And so now we have an int that's equal to 5 because we returned 5 there. So now we can go to console.writeLine and we can write our int to the screen, and we can see that it equals 5. And there you go. Alright, now there's a few other things about functions that I want to show you now. But real quick, let's just change this to a float. And what we can do is actually, you don't have to, you can actually return a variable too. So let's create a float in here, and we'll say my float, and we can say my float equals 5.0, and then remember we need that f whenever we're working with floats. And we can say return my float. And so now it's going to give us a value of 5.0, and it's going to return that. So now we can say, now that we're getting an error here because we're creating an int, but our function is actually a float, so we can't do that. So let's change it to a float, and I'll just change this to my number, just make it a little simpler. My number. So now it should write 5 again. There you go. Alright. Actually, if we do like 5.5, we can see that it actually returns with the decimal point there, 5.5. Alright. So now we can also perform different kinds of things in our function. And I'm going to go over right now what's called parameters. And right here, see how it says string args with like brackets there? This is a parameter. And what parameters are, basically you're giving a function something to work with. So say you wanna give the function a number and then add another number to it and then give you back the result of that. So say so let's create a parameter. We're gonna create an int. I'm gonna say int parameter. So this is gonna be some int parameter that we're gonna give it. And then what we're gonna do is, let's just delete everything for now. And let's change the return type to int. So now we have a function that returns int, and we're giving it an int parameter. So now we can do something with this. So let's make a new int. Say new int, and we're gonna say it equals int parameter plus 5, and then we're gonna return the new int that we created right here. So now we'll say, so now when you have a parameter, we're going to need basically just everything after these two parts right here. We're going to need my function and then the parameters. So we'll say my function, and then we'll open the parentheses, and you'll see right here it'll give us a little a little like clues to what we need to give the function, and we'll say, and we can see that we need an int. We need to give it some kind of int. So let's give it 1, and close the parentheses, semicolon. And so now whatever number we give it, which in this case it's a 1, it's going to add 5 to that number, and then it's going to return that new number. So if we run this, we can see that it returns 6 because we gave it 1, it added 5 to it, and it returned 6. And what we can also do now, that I'm going to show you, is we can do more than one parameter. So let's delete that. Oh, that's why. Yeah, well, anyway. So now we can do 2 parameters. And whenever you have more than one parameter, you need to put a comma to separate the parameters. So we have one here, and then we're going to make another one. We'll do another int, and we'll say, let's rename this to number 1 and number 2. And you can call these whatever you want. It's just kind of like declaring a thing here, but you're doing it within these parentheses right here. And so now what we're going to do is add these 2 numbers together. So we're going to say, alright, whatever, that's just our new integer, and we're going to say it's equal to number 1 plus number 2. So we create a new int and add these 2 together, and that's what this is equal to, is these 2 numbers add together, and then we're just going to return that. So now we can say my number is equal to my function, and now we're going to give it 2 numbers that's going to add together. So let's say 3, 4, close parentheses. And now it's going to, so now this number is going to be equal to 3. So we send that, and it equals that, and then we're going to use this right here to create our new int. So 3 plus 4, and then I'll output 7. And there you go. Alright, so just a quick overview of everything that we went over here is creating functions. Every function will need a return type. Every function will need a name, just like our variables. Oh my God. And then it can have parameters, but it doesn't need to. And whenever you have a type here, you need to return something of that type. So we have an int here, we need to return an int. And just one last thing is, see how it says void here? That means it doesn't return anything. So if you said that this was void, you would not need to return anything. But you see here that this gives us an error because it's not giving us an int. There's nothing here. And so that won't work. Say like equals 1, then our error's gone. Alright, so in the next tutorial, I might go over some more stuff about functions, and I might go over classes in more detail. So stay tuned.